welcome to Movie Nerds Podcast, the For Men with Glasses podcast. You like mine, don't you? And before we get started tonight, I would like to go ahead and give out a shout out to our brother promotion over on the other channel there called Scripthappen. They cover video games, so, you know, we kind of go hand in hand. Happy to be working with those gentlemen. And joining me tonight, as always, is Taylor Salen and Kurt Hall. And also joining us for the first time is Cameron Drain. Welcome, Cameron. How are you?
I'm great. Sorry if I'm kind of MIA tonight. I'm babysitting and, you know, maybe you don't. I don't know.
All that good jazz.
It's all good, man.
Also, Tommy, before we begin, I'd just like to point out that this podcast is also sponsored by UPS. So just throwing that out there.
Oh, that joke will be in the blooper reel at the end of the show. Thanks to Cameron for that one.
Sorry,
and also, you get to see Cameron in an artistic performance as ball pit this evening. So that will also come.
Best performance I've seen in my life.
Boom.
I know.
Daniel Day who?
Alright, so tonight we're going to be talking about Arrested Development. We're going to be talking about Django Unchained. We're going to be talking about The Last Stand. And we're going to be talking about Lincoln. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and let Taylor take it away. Taylor, send us into our first topic, please, sir.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and I think we'll jump off here with Django Unchained, since all four of us have seen it. Tommy finally got around to seeing it only like 4 months later, so we have that. But, I mean, it's Quentin Tarantino, man, so I want to hear what each of you guys' kind of general thoughts on this, and maybe we can get a little deeper into it without spoiling it. So, let's start with Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Cameron, what did you think of Django Unchained?
It was everything you love about Quentin Tarantino mixed with everything you love about a Western, mixed with just great acting from everyone all around. Like, it was just that good of a movie. Definitely, okay, I'm going to go out and say not as good as Inglourious Bastards, but, you know, I mean, once you hit the top, you can't really
go any further. Yeah, man. Yeah. Kurt, what did you think of Django?
Django's pretty brilliant. I would also say it's in Tarantino's top 3, in my opinion. I don't know if I could rank it higher than, like, Inglourious Bastards or Reservoir Dogs, but this movie is pretty excellent. It probably has my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio performance, and Christoph Waltz and Jamie Foxx certainly don't hurt that movie. This was pretty much another example of why Quentin Tarantino is one of those rare filmmakers that we'll never forget 50 years from now.
Yeah, so just real quick, so you're saying you would put this above Pulp Fiction too?
Yes.
Wow. Why is that?
Yeah, I don't like the format.
Gotcha. Yeah, I to each their own. I think the format's brilliant, but hey, that's what you think. That's what you think. Tommy, what did you think of Django? Sorry to cut you off.
No. It's all good. I was interested to hear that. Well, this is one of Tarantino's best films. This is way better than that crap that he put out for what is it? You know, that ungodly car movie with Kurt Russell. Yeah, I hated that film.
Oh, you don't like Death Proof?
Oh, dude,
no,
I think Death Proof works as a Tarantino action movie, but not as a Tarantino drama. It's basically an action movie. You don't remember the 45-minute car chase at the end of the movie?
Do you remember the first hour and 45 minutes of nothing but this? What?
Stuntman Mike is a great character. I don't know what movie you watched, but Stuntman Mike is great.
He was the only thing about the movie that I really enjoyed. Everything else was just stupid to me, and I didn't even care for it. That's just my opinion. You know, but anyways, going on. Django Unchained, though, is really impressive for me. I'm a huge Western fan to begin with, and this kind of, you know, stuck to that old spaghetti Western formula, And I really love the characters here. And Christoph Waltz, man, he is just incredible, as an actor, and especially in this role. And I really enjoyed his performance, and I thought that Leonardo DiCaprio was really awesome. Jamie Foxx is good, but if there would have been no Christoph Waltz or no Leo in this film, I think it would have suffered terribly. He would throw like a rap song in there, and I was like, I can kind of do without that. But other than that, I would give it a very solid 9 out of 10. It's in my top 3 Tarantino films as well. So
yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I really enjoyed it. I had a few small nitpicks, I guess, if you will. I don't know about you, Tommy, but I know you're a runtime guy. I felt like the runtime really you really start to feel it, especially after Christoph Waltz leaves the movie. I mean, that his presence is definitely missed after his character. Not even
really stuck.
Yeah. His character leaves the movie. We'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is pretty good in this film, but after Christoph Waltz and DiCaprio are gone, it's kind of just these two guys, and you don't really see Samuel L. Jackson. To me, is better than Jamie Foxx, and he makes the film continue to be interesting, but after that, I really didn't have anything else to look forward to it, and that's when the movie started to suffer from the runtime issue with me.
Yeah. So what did you think about the performances in this one, Cameron? Were there any standouts for you? Any performance you liked in particular?
Well, as always, Christoph Waltz. I thought the whole German dentist thing was pushing it a little bit, almost so that he could just speak German in the movie. I went with it, but I really thought Samuel L. Jackson's character was really unique, and I thought he pulled it off really well. I wish I could have seen a little more Kerry Washington besides her just kind of screaming the whole time. But it was all around pretty good. And the whole getting Jonah Hill to be part of the KKK,
Dude.
Yeah, I have to say that probably takes the cake as my favorite Tarantino scene ever. Seriously, it's just so brilliant. Like what he does, the twist that he kind of does on the KKK in that scene, and it's not even really the KKK because they weren't around. It's an early version of KKK, but yeah, I have to agree, man. That scene and Jonah Hill showing up there for a couple lines was pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite. That's probably one of my all-time favorite movie scenes, just because Don Johnson and Jonah Hill are so hilarious. And not only that, but everybody else in that scene is just equally as hilarious, because you got the dude who gets offended because they cut his eye because his wife is, she was the one who cut the eye holes, and he's like, well, forget it, I'll go home. And then everybody else is complaining about it, but then they're trying to be nice about it at the same time, and that was a really hilarious scene. It was good.
Yeah. Did you get to watch this movie on Blu-ray at all, Tommy, or no? When you saw it?
Yeah. I watched it on Blu-ray.
Okay, yeah, and I would recommend watching this movie on Blu-ray. It's a pretty excellent transfer, man. Like, there's certain scenes where there's just like slow-mo shots of just blood. And it's just so beautiful to watch. Like as graphic as it is, like these scenes are just like, it's unbelievable how good it looks. Like the color, the saturation of the colors is just incredible on this Blu-ray. But jumping off that, like, what did you guys think about the visual style of this movie? Because this movie has a very unique visual style. Much like Inglourious Basterds, which was kind of its own beast there. But what did you guys think about the visuals in this one? I mean,
pretty awesome.
Because Tarantino really is a guy that kind of creates memorable, visual imagery, in my opinion. I just thought the visual style of this movie was just so cool, especially for a Western.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead, Tommy.
No, go ahead, Cameron. You're the guest.
I was gonna say, he tried to get everything. You got the classic, kind of is a Mexican standoff when they're in the bar, filmed on the cast of Deadwood, I believe, or at least that whole city.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, I mean, definitely moments that stand out visually at the beginning where he blows the horse's head off almost.
Oh my gosh.
Shotgun.
That was awesome.
But the fact that he didn't use CGI either really helps with his visuals a lot. It wouldn't be Tarantino if he did it using computers or anything like that. It's just not a style. And so I think that has a lot to do with it.
This is another one of those things where, this is another one of those things that I'm talking about, where you have the case of a very awesome director going out and finding the appropriate landscape, finding the appropriate, places to shoot the film, instead of just saying, well, I got a computer, and just, doing that. But, one of my favorite things about the movie was actually the blood. And because, it's over exaggerated, but that makes the movie so good, because this is essentially just a spaghetti western.
Yeah.
And everything in a classic spaghetti western is over exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
And, from the explosions to the blood to just the characters in general. And, yeah, just all the bloodshed, especially at the beginning of the scene where Christoph Waltz pulls his gun out and blows the one guy away and then shoots the horse. That was one of my favorite scenes in the whole film. And then when the slaves go over there and they blow that guy's head off with the gun, you see all that blood fly up in the air. It's like, oh man, that was really brutal. It was really awesome, but really brutal.
Kurt, do you have any thoughts on this, on the violence or the imagery at all?
I really like the imagery. I felt like his direction here was like he took his classic style of Tarantino, which is just everything over the top. But he also kind of borrows from a lot of the classic Western directors, like Sergio Leone in particular, and how he really films it on location and reels the shots in well. It never feels like there's too much going on at once. And I think that's something that was a nice homage to the Sergio Leone type spaghetti western film.
Yeah.
And I also do like too how the world, you feel like you're firmly in the world, but at the same time it has that crazy Tarantino like living comic book feel to it. So there's ridiculous amounts of blood and like I think there's that scene in the middle where they ambush the one team. And all of a sudden, they like shoot him in the head with a shotgun, and there's just like 3 buckets of blood just come out of his neck, and it's so awesome.
Yeah, no, but I think that's a good point to make. You guys all kind of touched on it, is that I think the violence, especially in this movie, is really apt. Because we've seen Tarantino do like period movies, like Inglourious Basterds, a World War II movie, but we've never seen him tackle something that took place in the 1800s, where more than anything, violence was rampant at that time. It was the Wild West, and it was a very violent time in America because people, it was just, I guess, so expansive. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of open land where there wasn't protection. Your gun was your protection, and I think for that reason that the violence, the excessive violence, was pretty justified. Like even more so than Inglourious Basterds. What did you guys think about his portrayal in this one?
I thought he did a pretty good job. I think it's kind of cool how he doesn't just make himself a Western, like a guy from the West. He's more like an Australian guy who gets a job to transport prisoners to prison. I think that was kind of a cool touch to the movie that made it feel even more bizarre. Because like one of Tarantino's biggest things is if it feels out of place, it belongs in his movie.
And then the big payoff is just Quentin Tarantino getting blown away by dynamite. Like that was just the best, because like he goes to pull his gun and he hits the dynamite, and you just see Quentin Tarantino look down as he explodes, and I was like, oh man, that was really great.
Yeah, it was a cool moment. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I don't know, man. Like I felt like his accent was just a little off-putting for me, though. As cool as it was to see him do that, I felt it was more a little more gratuitous than than was necessary. I mean, I felt like his role went on, even though it wasn't that long, it went on a little too long for my taste. Like, because the whole point of that, it's at that point that you want to see Django get back and get Broomhilda, and I feel like that whole sequence, as cool as it is, kind of drags the runtime.
I mean, the guy had 4 hours of footage, so I kind of expected this movie to have a couple scenes that were a little too... that didn't really belong, per se, but at least this one felt fun.
Yeah.
Even though it took a little bit from the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point to make, because there are those kind of the scenes that progress the story along, but then there's also those world building scenes, and I think that sequence in particular does a lot to flesh out the world in a way, even though it's towards the end of the movie and people are just ready to go by that point. But especially if I don't know, I saw this in the theater and I really, really felt the runtime. I don't know about you guys, but as fun as it was. So what would you rate this one, Cameron?
Like an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Kurt?
I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Ooh, Tommy, you gave it a 9, right?
I'm actually, because the music actually wasn't that big of a deal, and the runtime, although slight bothersome, I'm gonna give it one of Kurt's favorite numbers. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. And like you said, that small runtime problem that I have. So
yeah, I think I would give it a 9 out of 10. And I think it's in my opinion, it's good to point out that this could probably be Samuel Jackson's greatest role. I think he really does a great job in this. And he played
not his greatest.
What's his greatest role then? What are you gonna say? Snakes on a Plane now or what?
No. His best role. His best role exists in Pulp Fiction.
Dude,
and
but no. That's a flashy, showy performance. This is a subtle performance. This is a complex and nuanced, layered performance. Come on now, dude. This guy is working on so many levels in this movie. It's not even funny.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with both of you, and I'm going to say that his role in Unbreakable is his best role. And so how do you guys like that?
Speaking of
which, you have everything in Unbreakable from him. You have drama, you have a little comedy, you have a scary Samuel L. Jackson, you have a violent Samuel L. Jackson, you have a character who you're concerned about. This character, I like him better in this than in Pulp Fiction, but still.
My problem with his role in Django itself is that I didn't totally feel like it was someone who was there before. Like, it felt like he was rewritten into the script later. Because a lot of the time that he shows up, it kind of takes away from a lot of the character development that Jamie Foxx could have. So that's my problem with his performance. It's not that he was bad in it.
I think it's more the writing than anything, and I would have to agree with that because in a way it feels kind of disjointed the way that Leo's character kind of exits the movie and Samuel L. Jackson's character is kind of like the ultimate nemesis that he ends up going up against,
If you kind of think about it, Samuel L. Jackson is the guy who he's really going against the whole time.
Telling me a guy who owns that much land and is that rich isn't smart enough to realize that he's getting screwed over.
Obvious to me that that the Samuel L. Jackson character was serving Leonardo DiCaprio, Calvin Candy's dad before him. So I find it easily believable that this guy could have been messing with him his whole life, and he's been slowly brainwashing this guy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it was not super apparent, but with a little thought, I mean, to me it seemed kind of obvious that he had been messing with his head for a while. I
felt like the scene where Samuel Jackson tells Leo that they're kind of putting the wool over his eyes.
It was a Shyamalanian twist, if you will.
Boom.
Yeah. All right, I think we need to move on from this.
We're going to go ahead and move the discussion now to Lincoln. Me and Kurt have seen Lincoln. Taylor has not had the privilege of seeing Lincoln yet. Yeah, boo.
Oh, coming from the two guys who haven't seen Arrested Development. Come on now. You have no excuse. It's on Netflix Instant as we speak.
You want to get mad at me about Django?
What do you think? What do you think about that, brother? Okay, yeah. So, what did you think of Lincoln, Tommy? I'll moderate.
Okay, Lincoln to me was just phenomenal. Now I know me and Kurt are going to have a little bit of disagreements. Ultimately, I think we're going to agree on a lot of things, but I really thought that this was a great film. We all know the history of Abraham Lincoln, but just to kind of see how it was to see a day in his life, and just the things that he dealt with in his personal life and his family, and then not only that, but dealing with the country who was at war, and his wife just being the nagging biatch that she really was, and and then the other thing that really went in along with this was Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones was phenomenal. He almost stole the show away from Daniel Day-Lewis. These two together on film are just great, and I hope that they get back together and do another film sometime in the future, because they were both just really phenomenal together. And even though they only actually shared one scene together, just seeing them go back and forth from these two it was just really great to me. So that's going to be the gist of it. So I'll let Kurt go ahead.
I did not like Lincoln. I thought it was one of my least favorite examples of Spielberg as a filmmaker, because he kind of, back in the day, he used to be able to get away with jam-packing a million characters into a movie. Back in the day,
dude, I'm sorry. That was hilarious.
Like, he used to be able to get away with jam-packing a ton.
Back in the 1800s. Sorry,
I'm referring more to like Jurassic Park days, where it has a lot of characters. Okay.
Sorry, I thought you meant like Lincoln himself. Like,
no.
Okay. Gotcha.
Spielberg has a formula, and he follows it for every movie, and I feel like the formula is starting to wear down, because this one, as much as I like Daniel Day-Lewis's performance in this movie, and I think Tommy Lee Jones is pretty marvelous, there are too many characters in this movie. There's one specific character that I'll wait till Tommy talks about how he felt about the acting, but there's one specific character that they could have just not had as a storyline, and just kind of threw him in the background, and it would have been great minus it. I think it has a lot of good things. There's good performances. The script is decent, even though it takes a lot of liberties with the story. I'll say that much. But ultimately, I feel like it doesn't follow a big enough scope. If I'm going to get a biopic about someone, I want to see who they were as a kid. I want to see how they grew up. I want to see, I realized he emancipated the slaves. That's cool. But I want to see more about Lincoln. I mean, we all know that he freed the slaves. Let's see more.
But at the same time, don't you think a complete life story of Lincoln would... That
would have been a very long stretch.
Yeah, exactly.
That I would have not wanted to sit.
Exactly.
through.
And I mean, the thing for me...
The movie is already a very long stretch, so...
Not to
there's
me.
There's a lot of expository scenes in this movie that don't really make much sense to be in the movie itself.
Yeah. There were a few things that I had a problem with. There was a couple characters. Now I'm not really sure which one Kurt's talking about, because there was about two people in the movie who were really kind of just overly annoying. And Kurt, which was the character you were talking about? Just so I know.
That completely forced storyline with Joseph Gordon-Levitt was just
oh my God.
Atrocious.
That was the main problem I had with this film. But at the same time, I can kind of see where it would stick in, because Lincoln's world is at war pretty much. Everything is going on. He's trying to make the country whole again and everything. And then here you have the story of his son who's wanting to do something other than go to school. He wants to go fight in the war, and Lincoln's already lost one son. He's got another son that's a younger son who's very impressionable, and then you've got his older son who is whatever. But that one was just, I felt like it could have been left out. I felt like if Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character wouldn't have been there at all, I felt like if that story just would have been left out, the movie itself would have been better. There was one other character who really overly annoyed me, and that was, I believe, let me see if I can get this right. The senator from New York. He was really aggravating me. He was a good actor. I can't remember who played him. He was really good at what he did, but it was like every single time they were in the house, he was the main guy who was standing up and, and he was all over the place, and he was always real excited and causing things. And that may have been how he was in real life, but at the same time, I knew that there were a lot other senators who kind of disagreed with this, and it shouldn't have just been from this guy and another senator's perspective. I wanted to see kind of how the House as a whole felt as it, when they're trying to get the amendment passed.
The senator you're talking about is played by Lee Pace.
Yes, Lee Pace.
Who's, of course, from Pushing Daisies, I believe, is probably what he's most known for. But what I want to know, guys, is what did you make of Day-Lewis's choices, like, in particular, like, with the voice and the tone of Lincoln? Because one of the things I always find fascinating about Lincoln is all the stuff that's known about this guy, there's not one recorded instance of Lincoln actually speaking. And I thought that was an interesting, from what I saw with the trailer, it was an interesting choice for Day-Lewis to go with more of a soft-spoken Lincoln than the bombastic Lincoln, 7 years ago, that kind of crap. So, what did you guys think about that?
I actually thought that was kind of the way that Daniel Day-Lewis should have taken it, because everybody else in this movie is really loud, and they're really annoying, and, well, they can be annoying. I'm not saying the movie was annoying, but I'm saying some of the characters, just thinking about this time period and thinking about all these people who are involved with all this, it can be really annoying and overwhelming. And then, you kind of have Lincoln, who is subtle. And Daniel Day-Lewis's choice of Lincoln, he's real subtle and he's really laid back. There are the very few scenes where, he's trying to get out his notion that he wants the amendment to go through. And one of my favorite scenes in the whole entire film is actually, well, there's two. There's one at the beginning where he's talking to the soldiers and everything, and and they're reciting his speech to him, and he's kind of laughing about it, and knowing that he's made an impression on these guys. And the other scene was where they're sitting in this in the telegraph room, and you have one of the generals he's upset because nothing's going his way, and Lincoln stops to tell this funny story, and he's the only one laughing about it, and everyone else is kind of just like, why are you, and then you understand why he's doing it, and it's because he's really subtle about everything. When I think of Abraham Lincoln, I actually think of a very subtle, kind of peaceful guy.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard too. A lot of the historical accounts about Lincoln say he was a very gentle person. For how big he was extremely gentle.
For a guy who started off as a professional wrestler, that's
yeah. So Kurt, final thoughts on this? Give this one a rating, and then Tommy, we'll go with your rating on this one, and we'll move on.
I thought that Daniel Day-Lewis did a good job in the movie picking what he did. I just want to point that out.
Yeah,
I like the soft-natured character of Lincoln because I think it makes him stand out over all the bombastic characters that the movie tends to throw at you. Same with Tommy Lee Jones too, because Tommy Lee Jones only really gets bombastic at one moment in the movie, which I think kind of separates their performances from everyone else's performances and kind of shows you like these guys are the best part of the movie, and then the rest is just kind of there. As far as a rating, I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't think it's a great one. I think it's definitely better than Spielberg's other recent film, War Horse, which was just atrocious. I would give it like a 5 out of 10. I think it's just a little too boring and stuffy for me.
Wow, that's surprising. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. You liked it, but you don't think it's Oscar worthy, is what you're saying.
No.
Yeah, Kami, what would you rate this one?
Well, I'm going to go in the complete opposite direction from Kurt, and I am actually going to go ahead, and even though there were a few parts that were really annoying from this movie, there were some really, heart-racing acting scenes from Day-Lewis and Tommy Lee Jones both, and, I have to go ahead and I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. A must watch.
Wow.
Do not go in thinking that this is going to be a war movie. Do not go in thinking about any of that. Go in thinking about that this is a biopic out of a certain point of time for Lincoln, and that's what I had in mind, and that's what I got. And yeah, I haven't seen The Master yet, but from what I've seen right now, Daniel Day-Lewis deserved his Oscar, and I do not know why Tommy Lee Jones did not get an Oscar for his performance in the film, for how good he was as a supporting character.
Yeah, and going off that real quick, I don't think it's not that Christoph Waltz didn't deserve the Oscar. He didn't deserve the Oscar for supporting actor, because that was not a supporting performance. That was a co-lead performance with Jamie Foxx. And I have to, I haven't seen Lincoln, but that's really, for me, really hard to follow after the performance Joaquin Phoenix gives in The Master, which is pretty incredible. I mean, as much as Day-Lewis transforms...
Phoenix!
Dude, Phoenix as Freddie Quell is just... It is insane. This guy, even down to the mannerisms, the way he stands, the way he holds himself is just incredible. But go ahead, Kurt.
Freddie Quell is one of the hardest characters to play that I've ever watched in a movie. Nothing against the Lincoln character, but Lincoln isn't that difficult. Like, I could see someone else playing Lincoln. I could see who was the other character, or Liam Neeson was up. I could have seen Liam Neeson as Lincoln. Would have been as good as Daniel Day-Lewis? Probably not.
That would have been awesome.
No one else in the world can play Freddie Quell. That was just performance extraordinaire.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about The Last Stand. Tommy and I both just saw this. You saw this one in theaters, right, Kurt?
Yes.
Okay.
First movie I watched this year in theaters.
Nice. Okay, so what did you guys think? Tommy, we'll go to you and then Kurt.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say I do not understand why this movie did not make money in the theaters. It essentially flopped, and that is sad, because Arnold Schwarzenegger's return to the big screen outside the Expendables was
After
phenomenal.
A 10-year
it's
absence,
one of his
10-year
best
absence.
movies, and a lot of people come back from a 10-year absence or or 1 or 2 year absence, and they're very flat, and they pick a bad movie, and people go see it, but nobody went and saw this. And that's really sad, because this is a great movie. It's well directed, it's well acted, it's very well put together, and the fight scenes and are just and the driving scenes are just well done all the way around.
Yeah.
And I'll let Kurt go ahead now.
Well, I know why it didn't make money, and this is the reason why you don't release good movies in January and February, because nobody watches movies in January and February, because people just spend all their money watching all the Oscar bait in December. But I think another big problem that didn't make money was the fact that the cast was a little campy. So when people go into a movie with Johnny Knoxville as one of the main characters, you're going to have a hard time selling it. And let's face it, how many people outside of us actually know who Kim Ji-woon is?
Not many. I mean, this is in case you guys don't know, Kim Ji-woon directed such things as I Saw the Devil, The Good, Bad, and the Weird, and this is his first American, film made inside the American studio system.
And for those of you who do not know, I Saw the Devil is like my number 5 pick in my top 10 movies in 2010. So
nice.
Yes, it's marvelous. Watch it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you guys. First of all, I don't understand why Johnny Knoxville's second build. I mean, I understand why, but he's a minor supporting character in this movie. I really love this movie. I have to say, I wrote in the group, I completely ate this movie up. It's everything I wanted it to be, with the exception of a few things that I'll get into here in a couple minutes that I really didn't care for. And I have to say, the action in this movie, like you guys pointed out, is amazing. You can tell there's a very competent person behind the camera There's a good sense of geography in the action scenes. You know where every person's at a given moment. But the real problem, and I actually really like Johnny Knoxville in this movie. I don't think he's done many great roles in my opinion, but I thought he was really great in this movie because he wasn't overused, you know? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I really love Peter Stormare. But my big problem, and I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but I felt that the Forrest Whitaker character and all the FBI bullshit at the beginning of the movie, it annoyed the shit out of me because specifically the Forrest Whitaker character, this guy is a complete idiot. I don't know how this guy's the director of the FBI. What's that? No, there's a certain scene where they're following the main bad guy in a car, and you know there's the FBI helicopter following him, and Forrest Whitaker's at the FBI headquarters saying, "Get him, find him." What? You lost him? Find him. It's like, what the fuck? Like, give somebody to do. Like, it's just a waste of screen time, in my opinion. That really didn't make much sense for people that haven't seen the movie. But once you understand, that's what happens with the Forrest Whitaker character in this movie. He's a horrible lawman. He doesn't believe anyone, and he pretty much fucks everything up as a result. As far as the story is concerned. And that was my big takeaway from this movie. Like, that actually didn't, it took away from my rating, my personal rating on it. So,
if there was a really bad part in the film, it is Forrest Whitaker and all that stuff, because he is just all the way around annoying. He really is, because it's just like you said. I was sitting there the whole time, and when I watch a movie, I normally just eliminate myself from any thought process until after the movie, where I go back and I kind of reflect on everything that I watched. And, when I'm sitting here the whole time and I'm looking at him, I'm just like, this guy is a complete moron.
Yeah.
Like, a monkey in a spacesuit could have ran the FBI better than what he was doing. Like, they acted like he couldn't handle any situation, period. He acted like he didn't know anything about the criminal. He didn't know anything about the car. He didn't know anything about the people who was working with him. He didn't even act like there might be an attempt to, come and break this guy out. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. If I had to compare him to a character from another recent movie, it would be Edward Norton in The Bourne Legacy. How he's always like 5 steps behind at every point in the movie,
and he's
like,
a completely pointless character, like Edward Norton's. It's like one of those things where it just like in that movie, he kind of exits the movie halfway through, and then it didn't even happen in Bourne Legacy, but at least he shows up at the end of this movie, which I didn't really care for, but I liked his one-liner at the end there. The thing about Swiss bank accounts,
Mm-hmm. They could have easily just had the main villain. I always forget who plays him, but
it's Rodrigo Santoro.
They could have Rodrigo Santoro and his gang.
I'm sorry. That was the guy who was in the jail. Was Rodrigo Santoro? It was Edward. Yeah, Edward Noriega.
Yeah, they could have had Noriega be the guy.
Edward.
Like, he didn't even have to be in prison. Like, he could have been on the run, and a big news flash could have came on the TV, and Arnold Schwarzenegger could have seen that and realized that he was coming into his town, and that could have been where the story started off from. Like, it didn't have to start with a prison break sequence or anything like that. But that kind of went with the whole nature of the movie, which was kind of campy. It had campy jokes, and most of them work. Some of them don't, but I kind of like it. It kind of keeps a lighthearted kind of action movie feel to it. Yeah. Kind of like other Korean action films at times, because like The Good, the Bad, and the Weird kind of has that feel to it.
Yeah. I mean, what did you guys think about Peter Stormare in this? Just out of curiosity.
Peter Stormare, as always, in anything, is awesome. You could put Peter Stormare in a garbage dump of a film, and he will somehow be the bright, shining point of the film. Armageddon, Bad Boys 1 and 2.
So what you're saying is that Peter Stormare could have been in Birdemic, and it would have made it that much better.
Somehow, it would have been better.
Yeah.
Somehow. if he just would have cameoed for like 2 minutes just to say, "Oh hey, I'm Peter Stormare," I would have liked it a lot better. But Peter Stormare is just this awesome. He's this Wild West guy. And he's got his hair slicked back, and he's pretty much just a modern age cowboy carrying around that big Colt revolver. And he had some really good lines. And when his boss is breaking out of prison, and he calls Peter Stormare and he's telling him on the phone, he's like, "Well, we had a problem with the police," and he hangs up on him. There's this odd, it's kind of an odd scene where he's just sitting there with the phone to his ear, and he's like, "I really hate that guy," and you kind of see it. He doesn't.
But he's paying him, so he's okay with
it.
What did you think of his accent though in this one, Kurt? I thought his accent was a little off-putting. He's kind of like this guy, like this European guy who's trying to do like a Western accent. I don't even know what it was but it was awesome at the same time.
I think it's one of those. Go ahead, Tommy.
Sorry, Kurt. He reminded me, for those of you who play Metal Gear Solid, he reminded me of Revolver Ocelot. And that's all I'm going to say, so go ahead.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yep. I agree. He was the Revolver Ocelot of this film. I like Peter Stormare a lot in this movie. I think he kind of has he kind of brings all the camp together, because he's that old school kind of gunslinger, but he also uses new guns. So he's kind of like bringing the new school to the old school with his look and everything. And he is a pretty terrifying villain at times. And he kind of makes that shootout that they have in the middle of the town near the end of the film that much better.
Yeah.
Just because he kind of throws in a cheesy one-liner once in a while, and he gets really pissed off every time someone on his team gets shot.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked about him. Sorry. The other thing I liked about him was where he says he never names the gun. He just says, "Go get me the big gun." And the 2 times it was mentioned, it's just like, for some reason he would find it really ridiculous to say, "Go get me the bazooka." He's like, "Go get me the big gun," and I think that made it even better. But go ahead, Taylor. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna ask you guys what you thought of the whole what was his name, Jerry, the police officer Jerry. Did that really work for you guys? Also that. And the love story between Jamie Alexander and the Rodrigo Santoro character, because those are 2 things that I felt were really unnecessary, and I didn't really get the point of them being in the movie, especially since they're both so truncated, Like, both those storylines get resolved like 3/4 the way through the movie,
I found it necessary just to kind of push the plot along, but once again, this is where the campy plot kind of hurts the film, because this dialogue is so kind of campy, and they try to put these jokes in all the time, and it kind of takes away from the moment when he dies, because if he dies and it's a serious tone, I'm kind of feeling it, but the scene before that, they're making jokes as they're going up onto this shootout, so it kind of it's off-putting to put jokes around a really serious scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually didn't work for me, because I really can give 2 craps less about anybody's love story.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. People are coming to this movie, which they didn't even do, but the people that went to see Arnold in a leading role, But it's true, dude, And for me, it was surprising how small of a role Schwarzenegger had in this one. It seemed like he was maybe only, with the exception of the 3rd act, he was maybe in 10 scenes before that. Before the big shootout happens, before the last stand happens, And that's one of my huge problems with the movie, is it's called The Last Stand, and it's like all this other crap we don't care about. Like, just make it short and sweet and get to the freaking shootout.
Well, I kind of understood what they had to do. They kind of had to have some kind of story before you just put Arnold Schwarzenegger in a town with a bunch of guns shooting up a bunch of terrorists, or whatever you want to call them. So, while the story was a little I think the action and the scenes that Arnold was in was really enough to kind of push the story along for me and really help it out, And it's another one of those things where I say you can put Arnold Schwarzenegger in almost anything and it'll work for me. And almost anything.
I wouldn't even
say
almost anything. I would say you could put Arnold Schwarzenegger in about 5 roles and that's it, because he's not a very versatile actor. I'm serious.
No, he's not. He's not.
And that's why he's very emotionless at times. Like that's why he's so great as the Terminator, because he has that disconnect.
There's no emotion.
Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
and that's why
that.
he's so amazing in that role. But I can see where you're coming from at the same time.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, I actually didn't mind him not having that much screen time, because when they did have him on, it was like a treat, because to me it's like, okay, Arnold's been away for 10 years. All right, here we go. And you're like, okay, where's Arnold? And then you see him and you're like, oh, surprise, there's Arnold. And then finally it gets to the end, it gets to the midpoint of the movie where he goes out there to save his 2 deputies and he shoots the guy with a shotgun and you're like, oh, Arnold fired a gun. And then you get everything elsewhere. So you get the standoff with Peter Stormare, and then you get the end fight scene, which I thought was really pretty cool to see that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what would
we should
go ahead, Kurt.
We should actually discuss the end, because I love that whole last 30 minutes of the movie is amazing.
Yeah.
I.e. the greatest car chase in the history of film. Like seriously, they're chasing themselves through a cornfield and they don't know where each other are, so they're driving 2 miles per hour with these fucking Ferraris and Mustangs, and it's so tense because you don't see where the other character is adjacent to the other character, and it's really fun. And then it turns into this weird MMA grappling match at the end on the bridge, and it's just this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I thought the car chase was amazing. The hand-to-hand fight, not so much for me.
I like it. I thought it had Arnold beating people up with his fists, because he's old but he doesn't get into a fucking karate fight. He kind of pummels him.
It's a fist fight, it's a brawl, which I liked.
You kind of have this, it's one of those things to where it kind of puts on the film that, the new school might beat the old school sometimes, but today the old school wins, and I liked seeing this guy, trying to grapple and use his martial arts and everything to try and just choke him out. And Arnold's like, "Oh, you're breaking my arm. I'm gonna break your face." So and realistically in an MMA match, you never really see that. Which I'm not comparing this to an MMA match at all, but I'm just saying, you have Arnold who is using. It seems like a logical thing for him to do, because he's using his strength, and that's all he really has, because he's an old man.
Yeah.
He's not speed. He isn't built for speed. He's just a power dude, and you get that. And that car chase scene is just, man, it was intense. I just remember I was watching it with Carissa, and we were both silent, sitting here oh, where's he at?
Well, and I think that's saying.
Yeah,
I think that's saying a lot too, considering it follows up a 20-minute gunfight / battle that's pretty freaking great, And so I have to agree with you guys. So let's rate this bad boy, Tommy.
The plot suffers a little bit, and the story suffers a little bit. If it had been anybody else other than Schwarzenegger, this probably would not have worked. But the fight scenes and the dramatics that carry out in this film, and the music, I thought was really good. I'm gonna have to give the movie probably an 8 out of 10.
Kurt?
It may be a little too campy at times, but it has a Gatling gun, and that's amazing. And the action scenes are pretty brilliant. Just Kim Ji-woon showing off why he is a legendary Korean director. I give it a 9 out of 10.
Nice. I have to agree. It's a fun movie. I think it's a good B style movie. Really, for me, it's a B movie. So I think, with the exception of that first act stuff that happens, it's pretty enjoyable. So I think I'd give it a 7.5, Kurt. 7.5, baby. I had some problems with it, but it's totally fun, and I would recommend anyone who's a fan of action movies to do that, to rent it and watch it. So just before we head out here, I just want to talk about Arrested Development real quick. You've never watched Arrested Development, right, Tommy? Any of the episodes?
I have not.
Okay. Go watch it.
You should.
Yeah,
It's
you
amazing.
need to watch it. It's one of the greatest comedy shows of all time. And Kurt, you've seen the first 3 seasons, but not the new one, correct?
I've seen the first 2.
The first
I
2.
didn't catch a third.
Okay.
Yep.
So for those of you guys that don't know, Arrested Development was a show that was on, I believe, from 2003 to 2006. And it was never very high in the ratings, but it kind of became a cult show after it left the air. It features Jason Bateman, Michael Cera, Alia Shawkat. You got Will Arnett in there. Will Arnett. You also have Jeffrey Tambor. Like, all these great comedic presences. And in case you don't know, Netflix brought this show back streaming only for the Netflix subscribers. Now, before the show kind of focused on the family as a whole and kind of their interactions between one another. But this 4th season is a little different, and I've only seen 2.5 episodes so far, so I'm going to probably come back a little bit later on this one when I've seen the whole 4th season. But it actually takes, each episode focuses on one character in the 4th season, which I found to be an interesting change. The comedy's definitely still there. The what is it? Oh man, the chemistry between the actors and the characters is still there. So I mean, if you guys haven't seen this, you got to go check it out. It's on Netflix right now. They released the whole 4th season. Tommy, you're gonna watch this. I'm gonna force you to watch it, and then we'll talk about it eventually.
Yes,
but
sir.
I seriously, man, you got to watch it. It's incredible. What are you gonna do about that, brother?
What
Yeah,
you
it
do,
is.
brother?
Sorry,
It
I
is-
had it. Go ahead.
It is definitely something everyone should watch, because although I've only watched the first 2 seasons, of the 2 seasons I've watched, it is the funniest show I have ever watched on TV.
Yeah.
Like, nothing really touches this.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it's not very like bombastic humor like, say, maybe the Hangover movies. It's very subtle comedy, and that's what I really love about it. Also, this show, don't get discouraged if you don't like the first couple episodes of the first season, because it does take a few episodes to get into it. And also, there's a lot of recurring jokes that happen multiple times through a season with certain characters and
There's
certain
always
things.
money in the banana stand.
Exactly. The banana stand. You got Job's Magic Show, which is one of the best recurring jokes ever. And the final countdown. I can never think of anything else when I hear that song, except for the Job Magic Show. So you guys definitely have to check this out. And hopefully Kurt and Tommy and I can talk about it in the future. So with all that said, do you want to...
I would like to say one thing though.
Yeah.
You know, the summer can be either a time of, of really awesome shows or really terrible shows. And a show that I'm interested to see is Longmire. I have not seen the first season, but I will be doing that soon.
Longmire.
And,
I've actually watched it. It's pretty good. It's pretty decent. I was very surprised by it.
One of my favorite television shows, I don't care what anybody says, is returning pretty soon, and that is The Killing. And, I really like the concept of the show, and I can't wait to see the next season of it. So
I think The Killing's good. I just wish the first murder would have taken place over 1 season, not 2 seasons.
that
as
did
much
kind
as-
of bother me.
Much as I like the tension of the show, it got so boring after about episode 20.
Yeah.
I can agree with that
And
one.
that's what
But-
I
but-
heard too. A lot of people complained about that they didn't solve the mystery or whatever it is at the end of the
But
first
to be
season.
fair, AMC confirmed that it will take place over 13 episodes. And, best part, it's about a serial killer. I'm in. I love it.
Nice.
Sold.
All right. So you guys want to close this one out for the evening? We're running pretty long here.
Yeah.
And I
we'll go
do
ahead
know
and
Tommy
leave it.
has to get to bed. So
We gotta
you
go
wanna-
sleepy.
do you want to
Oh.
close us out, Tommy?
Sure thing. Actually, you know what? How about we change it up? How about Kurt close us out?
Boom! Do it.
Ooh, I don't know, man. That's
Come
a lot
on.
of pressure.
We're gonna
Put
give
you on the
Kurt. We're
spot.
gonna go ahead and give Kurt the liberty of sending us off tonight. Go ahead,
Well-
Kurt, cut the promo.
Well, lovely viewers of the internet, it has been a pleasure talking various amazing films, and not so amazing films, of 2012 this evening. For the... Oh, God, this is terrible.
Dude, just do it.
This is... Yeah, you put too much pressure on me,
All right,
man.
all right. Kurt, I'll say all the shit,
Love
and you can X us out. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe.
We'll say it all.
movienerdsmailbox@gmail.com. Boom, Kurt, go.
And this has been our
Questions,
podcast
comments,
for the
and
night.
concerns below.
Subscribe, people. Yes, subscribe, people.
Go check out Scripthappen.
Yeah, check out Script Happens. It's awesome. And this I'm Kurt D. Hall, the third man in this group, I guess. And for my other two members, Taylor Zalen and Tommy Bolden, that has been a cut.
And also remember, UPS sponsored this episode.
No, G.I. Joe did.
What?
I had to give you crap, Kurt. I had to give you crap. Oh, that's fine, dude. You did fine. You did fine.
You did great.
Yeah, dude. It's
I'm not.
cool.
I'm not the host, man. I'm just the guy that throws his opinion.
We had to pick that.
It's awesome. Way to put him on the
Yeah.
spot, Tommy. Way to put him on the spot.
Yeah,
I
man.
know,
I haven't felt that much pressure since like high school bowling, man.
I had-
Come on.
High school bowling.
Do you?
It's the Four Men with Glasses and Hats podcast. We always have the miracle of editing. So
Yeah.
Cameron, if you fuck something up, dude, just start over.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, just count it down and start it over, and I'll cut it out.
I'll just take a roofies and then Skype you tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going here recording. Is everything okay, Tommy?
Yeah. My mom's just making a lot of noise back there. I was wondering what she was doing. What are you doing?
I can't hear it.
There's no need to yell. Just like, what are you? I'm just all subtle and everything. Hey, Mom, what are you doing? I'm cleaning up the kitchen. What does it look like I'm doing? It's like, okay.
See, all of a sudden she turned into Christian Bale, Batman.
Yeah, yeah, there was your Christian Bale.
I'm cleaning the kitchen.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
So that's what that feels like.
The only funny part of the Batman trilogy.
Seriously, huh?
No.
Yeah, I'm ready whenever you guys are.
All right, let's get down to business.
All
The business.
The biz.
The biz.
The biznatch and the business.
I'm gonna try to hide the inflatable ball pit behind me.
It's okay. People
gonna
have
start
seen my whole
blowing
house
over.
on this podcast. It's okay.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
It's kind of weird because they've seen me like in multiple rooms, so
Yeah, you went all VHS 1 on us once.
yeah, no kidding.
MTV Cribs.
Movie nerd cribs.
So this is my
God.
house. This is my 32-inch Vizio.
Yeah, my 65-inch down here. Boom. No, I'm just kidding. All right, come on.
Ouch.
All right, all kidding aside.
Boom!
Bam.
In your face!
Well, I mean, come on, Cameron. Cameron, look at this. My television needs a freaking zip code, man.
Nice. I used to have one of those. It was
It's okay.
bigger,
It's okay. Tommy,
but it was probably twice as thick as that one. And now I'm down to this
little guy.
Laptop.
Nice.
All right. We gotta get down to business.
Yep.
Okay. I cannot get focused for some reason. All right. All right, everybody, shut up. Okay. All right. In 3.
The Human
2.
Torch was denied a bank loan.
I'm gonna uppercut you, Cameron, through this computer.
He's gonna give you the Ryu special.
Alright,
I'm gonna punch you so hard your ancestors are gonna feel it. Okay. All right. Anyways.
I like that
Okay.
joke first time.
Shut up, Kurt. It's better than any joke you've ever told.
Oh!
Hey, that-
Okay,
that
okay,
comeback,
okay.
the comeback was so bad. I can't even make a joke about that. That was a terrible
Yeah,
comeback.
exactly. Because, that comeback's so old. The last time I laughed at that, I laughed so hard I fell off my dinosaur. All right.
All right, let's do this. All right, enough messing around. Enough messing around.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody's wearing a t-shirt but me. Okay. All right.
I got
All right.
my Flynn Live shirt on, dude. Gotta represent.
Lives.
All right.
So people can see it.
Okay. Here we go. And shut up, Kurt.
Every time
Okay.
I think of I'm sorry. Continue.
All right. Here we go. In 3. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Movie Nerds Podcast, the Everyman Nerds Podcast, the 4 Men with Glasses Podcast. And before we get started this evening, I'd like to go ahead and just give a shout out to our brother station. I'm not going to call them sister station because they're not women. Scripthappen. So if you guys want to march on over there and check those guys out, they cover video games and stuff like that. Movies. So kind of go ahead and. All right, we're going to be focusing on a few movies out. Also be focusing on Cameron's screaming child.
Kurt.
We can't do this. Damn it, Jim! I'm a podcast operator, not a child watcher. Oh my god.
Oh god.
Joining us, as always, is Taylor Salen and Kurt Hall, and joining us tonight is Cameron, who is just an inflatable ball pit back there.
Ooh.
Oh,
man. That's too
Oh.
much.
Oh god. Hey Cameron, you're looking really nice over there as that coat hanger. How are you doing over there? You look all thin. And joining us is also one of Kurt's relatives. Kurt, how's your relative doing? How is she? Is that your mom or your sister or your girlfriend
That was my mother.
No. How's your mother doing tonight, Kurt? Would she like to join us on the Everyman Nerds podcast, you know?
I have a feeling she might pass on that.
With a cameo appearance by Kurt's mom.
We got everything on this podcast, bitches.
I like how you just said that about your mom, dude.
Bitches.
It'd be better if I had a Russian accent. That way I could just be like, bitches.
You'll not understand what it is that's going on this part. Okay, well, all right, Cameron. I introduced you as the ball pit back there, so I hope you're happy about it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, that's one for the blooper reel. I want
Yep.
to see that at the end of this.
All right, for sure. It's going to be in there.
Okay, here we go.
Make sure to introduce Cameron, too, because I don't think you did last time.
I didn't get around to any type of introductions, you know. so here we go. In 3, 2, 1.